Hello, everyone. My name is Sufana Ruban, and welcome to the Majlis. It's a place where people gather to discuss and share their own personal experiences, going beyond their professional roles. Our session today is the power of daydreaming. I'm excited to see those two words so close together, honestly. We will. One moment. That's it? So please, if everyone can get seated, the session will start in 2 minutes. All right, thank you everyone for coming. Hello again. My name is Sufana Ruban. I'll be your MC. Welcome to the Majlis. It's a place where people gather and discuss their own personal experiences, going beyond their professional roles. Our session today is the power of daydreaming, where we'll delve into how seemingly aimless thoughts can actually lead to groundbreaking innovations, the next big thing. Now, please join me in welcoming our special guests, Yasmin Moufti, our moderator, Ammar Al Sabban, Joe Wilkinson, and Robbie Tolson.
Can you hear me okay? Yes. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us in today's session about the power of daydreaming. Today's session is what I hope to be a very thought-provoking session. We're going to delve into the fascinating world of daydreaming and its profound impact on creativity. And we're joined by a distinguished panel today that are going to give us different standpoints from tech to creativity. Our discussion will explore how moments of idleness, meditation, and even sometimes boredom can really turn into a powerful catalyst for innovation. So I want to give some room for our distinguished guests to introduce themselves. Ammar, if you'd like to begin.
Hi, everybody, and thank you for coming. Okay, so it's really hard to define what I do, but it all revolves around like content creation and ideation. And I work with like puppets. We worked with animation, film, and marketing very recently, which all started in also a creative field, which was architecture. So we just jumped from one place to another constantly.
Very cool. Creativity all around.
Creativity all around.
Joe?
Hi, I'm Joe. I'm originally from the north of the UK, in Sheffield, if nobody could tell. There we go. Manchester, there we go. And my background was really, I was a personal shopper and stylist from the age of 16, so I was always obsessed with fashion. I always loved the idea of, dressing well and that being a part of your personality. I started to build a good network in the Manchester area, thank you. And that really consisted of like football players, so Manchester United football players, celebrities, musicians, etc. And it really led me to a place where I started to understand the overstock problem in luxury. And that led me to starting Heat in 2019, which is at its core a sustainable fashion business that also helps luxury brands engage with Gen Z. And today we have investors like LVMH, Hermes, the OTB Group, and more to be announced in the next couple of weeks.
Wonderful. Robbie?
Hi, my name's Robbie Tolson. I'm Scottish. I'm from Edinburgh. I am a DJ, but I'm also a social entrepreneur, and I founded the social enterprise Turn the Tables. And we are a DJing-based non-profit that works with disadvantaged communities. So I was a volunteer at a homelessness shelter in my city, and they found out I was a DJ. Fast forward a few weeks, and I'm taking my decks down to the shelter, and I'm running DJ workshops, and that journey continued. And the journey that the individuals we were working with was so amazing. They became DJs in their own right, and they went from being homeless to DJing at music festivals, DJing for big corporates such as Red Bull.
That's incredible, really inspiring. Thank you. The three of you are entrepreneurs in your own way and use tech in your own way. So I'd like to pose this question to all three of you. Maybe we can start with Ammar. In what ways do you think modern technology aids or hinders the creative process, particularly when it comes to allowing your mind wander and, in theme with our topic today, just get as creative as you can and daydream as much as you can?
I think daydreaming can be instigated through multiple catalysts. So in our time, okay, I'm not going to age myself, but I'm old. But boredom was an amazing tool for you to start daydreaming and think about like different things that doesn't exist. For me, I used daydreaming to escape school because I didn't like it, but I loved learning, but I used it. But I think technology today enhances and it can be used as a catalyst for daydream because it shows you a lot of different options. It shows you a lot of different ideas, stuff that we never saw growing up. So, and when I see my kids, I always tell them that, don't just be a consumer. Try to use it as inspiration for you, to give you ideas and start daydreaming. And really, everything we do, everything we can create, all starts with a daydream and just thinking about something. So I don't think it's that much of anything that you overuse is going to be a problem. But if we use it correctly, it can be a part of the solution.
Could be a tool.
It could
be a tool
yeah.
to help to the daydreaming.
For sure, yeah. I think for me, really, what I've found recently, especially with the new AI tools and everything else, for me, it's more of a way to have more creative time to think. So a lot of the admin tasks, emails, etc., I can facilitate those a lot quicker with AI, for example. But I think really the main thing for us is we're like a digital business, so we're 100% selling online, apart from the odd pop-up here and there. And what you can do online now in terms of creating a customer experience is so much greater than what you could do, 5 years ago. So really building that brand loyalty, really building that, that loyal customer base that helps the business survive for such a long time is really about creating experiences, especially in luxury fashion. So, new technologies has really helped us ideate a lot more, but also make those things reality.
Absolutely, I agree. Robbie?
I think from a music making and a music creator, technology is amazing. And like Joe says, the AI is great because it can inspire thoughts, and it's almost like having your own best friend in the room with you that you can give the information and it will give you something back that maybe you didn't think about. But at the same time, like keeping on the topic, I think for daydreaming, you need to be bored. And to be able to be bored, technology takes that away from you because the constant alertness, and I think it's really important not to, try and, like we say, everything in moderation and not.
Yeah, and I think you have to be really mindful when you're using it to not get in the way of that space that you leave for yourself, whether it's meditation or daydreaming. Wonderful, thank you. On that topic, actually, Ammar, if I can ask you, Just mentioning, and I had a quick conversation with Robbie about this as well. When I was a kid, when I went to school here, and when my mom would go to parent-teacher conferences, the number one complaint everybody had about me as a student, and I wasn't a bad student, I was okay, that I daydream a lot in class, and this was something that was a complaint. So I wanted to ask all of you, but maybe we can start with Ammar, is can we really be present in the moment while also allowing our minds to wander? And some people, like my teachers, thought that it was unproductive. How would you respond to that?
Well, I think especially when it comes to school, if a student is daydreaming and is out of it, and that's the same case with me, they are bored and maybe not interested in whatever topic is being presented. So I think it's more of it's more of the job of the educator to really capture the interest and the curiosity of the kids that they're trying to teach, just to get them involved into the thing. So that's a great indicator. If you don't have their minds, you're doing something wrong. And it's not fair, but world changes, and the way we teach kids, the way we were taught is different than the way our kids are being taught.
Absolutely.
So I think it's important for educators to find ways to engage kids so that they don't daydream. But sometimes, to your point, I would be sitting in a meeting and I'm supposed to focus on what people are saying, and I start daydreaming. So and that's a burden on us, especially people who love to daydream, to try to focus, because sometimes if you don't listen, if you're not aware of what's going on around you, you might miss something. And you can't just be living in your head all the time. You need to consume something to start create from it. So it's important to balance that as well.
Absolutely, I agree with you. Joe, I'd love to hear your point of view as well.
Yeah, for me, daydreaming is good at the right times and in moderation, because for me, if you daydream all day, then you never get things done. So it's really about carving out enough time to daydream, and then really getting the crucial things done that build up and add a lot of stress to your plate, in the other amount of time that you have. So for me, daydreaming is great when you do it in, small amounts on a daily basis. But as, a founder with 40 people in the team, it's hard to find that time to daydream. And I think something I want to do more of going forward is really setting that time aside where it's, the phone's on airplane mode, you take no distractions, and really use that time to daydream and come up with the new ideas that will really propel the business forward. I think otherwise you're at the risk of procrastinating almost, because you're using what you think is time to daydream when instead you should be getting, crucial things done.
True. It could be a double-edged sword.
Exactly.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. And Robbie, your experience in this?
Yeah, I think what Joe's saying is right, in terms of you might miss things, especially when you're running a business, but when you start that process, you are more often than not will be a daydreamer. So if I go back to when I was a child, I was constantly getting in trouble for being a daydreamer, for not focusing on my work. I did enough to get by, as my dad would say, and I ended up, funnily enough, going into real estate education at university. And here I am doing the complete opposite of real estate. But when I was at university, I was DJing. And when I was in lectures, I was thinking about DJing, and I was thinking about music and all that kind of stuff. And without that ability of being bored of my real estate lecturers, I wouldn't have had the vision to become the DJ and being able to actually focus on that. So I think it's about finding something that you're very passionate about, and then allowing that to consume you, and allowing your space to daydream. But I do my most daydreaming now when I'm on public transport, when I'm on the plane, on the train, and I'm music in, and I'm looking out the window, and I'm looking at the landscape, and I'm just zoned out, and then that's when my ideas will come.
I can completely relate. For anybody who lives in Riyadh, I'm sorry about the traffic. Anybody who's visiting, I'm sorry about the traffic. It's actually where I do all of my daydreaming.
Yeah.
I spend almost an hour in commute, minimum an hour in commute every day. So I can completely relate to that.
I think, Denzel Washington said it best. Dreams without goals are just dreams.
Absolutely.
So when you have a goal and you have something that you're working towards, you're going to stop daydreaming and start executing.
Yes,
Exactly.
definitely, 100%. Joe, can you share a time when a significant insight for heat happened in a moment of relaxed daydreaming rather than structured brainstorming. Like you mentioned, you have a team of 40, so
Yeah.
it's not the best atmosphere to just sit and daydream. But if there was, or is there an insight or a story you can share with us that popped up from there?
For sure. I think the one that comes to mind first is actually coming up with the concept of the business at the beginning. Like, I wasn't planning on starting a business that, you know, curated luxury fashion mystery boxes. That wasn't the thinking. It really started with identifying like a problem that needed attention and trying to solve that whilst also solving another problem, which was, you know, how do I apply the network that I have to solve this problem and bring almost like 2 layers of value to luxury brands. The idea of the mystery box coming into play was really when I was just laid in bed watching YouTube videos, and I was like, this actually solves the problem I've been wanting to solve for a long time, which is, you know, if a customer doesn't know what they're buying at the point of purchase, you know, you can't really consider that as paying a discount for luxury products, which is really what, you know, luxury brands are trying to avoid and have been trying to avoid for tens of years. And it was really just a simple light bulb moment that wasn't structured in any way. It was just thinking, this makes sense, now I need to go and sell it to all the luxury brands. But it was really, I didn't put too much thought into it, it just happened and it just made a lot of sense.
And your company launched a year before COVID. Actually, your second launch was supposed to be in March 2020, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct,
right?
yeah.
Did that give you a lot more time to just kind of have that time for yourself to build and add more to that second line that was coming in?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, what we did is, so we launched in November of 2019. It went really well on the first launch, better than we expected. You know, I had a lot of like Premier League football players posting the boxes, and it was generating a lot of excitement. On the second launch, we had just set up a warehouse in Italy that was like the worst affected place by COVID in March of 2020. So we had to pull everything out of the warehouse in Italy, bring it back to the UK, into my parents' house in Sheffield. And really, we just thought, whilst everybody's freaking out about COVID and what's going to happen, we're an online business, so we feel like it's our time just to get our heads down and go for it. And that's what we did over the next 6 months. We sold, you know, thousands of mystery boxes. We started to really build a loyal customer base that were coming back every time we did a new launch, a new box. And it helped us a lot because, you know, people had a lot more time to spare, so they wanted to try something new. They wanted to try a new experience. They had more cash because they wasn't spending it going out, etc. And really the timing aligned, you know, quite well for the type of business that we built.
That's amazing. That's perfect for the timing.
Yeah.
Ammar, how does the practice of daydreaming contribute to your line of work, which is very creative? So if we talk about brand innovation or storytelling within your line of work, how would it contribute?
It's the basis of what we do. I mean, to come up with an idea, you have to daydream. You have to think about it. You have to visualize the whole concept in your mind. So it's fascinating when you're working at a job and they pay you money to just daydream and think of ideas and write them and construct narratives. So it is really important. And sometimes also in a creative agency, you get to daydream with other people.
Yeah.
So we have like at the beginning of every project, we sit together as a team, as a creative team, and just start daydreaming, throwing ideas, brainstorming, and living the concept that we're trying to build before we actually build it. So we go through trial and error. We go through things like different stages of the whole project and the whole concept. So when you're thinking about like a television ad or like a show or characters or something, you have to start acting it out. You have to start thinking about it. So it's really important, to do that. And in a lot of cases, people come to my office and I'm just sitting. I have like a lazy boy chair and I'm just sitting and looking out the window and just doing nothing. That's what people see. But inside my mind, I'm just, going through all the scenarios and all the ideas. So it's really important. But as everybody was saying, it's like you always have to have a window. So I give myself like an hour, 2 hours, just daydream, think about everything, and then go and start executing. And today, technology really helps a lot. So when I have an idea, I write the idea down. I go through like ChatGPT. I tell it to write me like a script. It writes something. Then I take it. Then I develop it. So it really saves time. So if you know how to use it at the end of the day, and you start, allocating certain time periods for your work, uh, you can be a machine.
I'm glad you brought that up. I was going to ask, with the ease of AI and how it's so at our fingertips right now, has it gotten in the way at all? Or have you just felt like it's just empowered you with your idle time and daydreaming and letting your mind wander?
No, for me, it's really empowering, because you don't waste time in like a creative block, and you don't know where to start. So sometimes you just start somewhere, and AI can help you to just, break that, block, and really start writing. And it's always easier to edit something that you've
Than
wrote.
to start from scratch.
Than to start from scratch.
Yeah.
So I don't think AI is going to take away any creative job anytime soon. But I think if you're a creative person, and you don't update yourself and learn how to use AI and all these technologies, you're going to be outdated, and because it's going to take you like a whole day to create like a script for something, let's say like an ad, and somebody with AI can create a better script in an hour.
Right. It's just efficiency.
And it's not that the AI did it, it's just the AI helped you to do it faster.
Right. No, thank you for sharing that. Robbie, I wanted to ask, being an entrepreneur, and especially a social entrepreneur, that comes with its own massive bucket of stress.
Yep.
And what can you advise up-and-coming entrepreneurs on how to be able to innovate and think creatively under that amount of stress? And that goes for everyone. Everyone here is an entrepreneur.
I think it's about finding the right people to help you make your dreams a reality. Because with a good team, you can rely on people. And when you're stressed, and especially social entrepreneur, I am a solo entrepreneur, but I'm also the lead practitioner. I'm also the strategy guy. I'm the guy who paints the walls in the studio. I do everything. And you get under a lot of stress, and especially with working with vulnerable people with mental health issues, you're on the front line working with these people, and that brings with it its own stress. So it's really important to have people who understand that, to be able to, for example, I have like a team of unofficial advisors who are mental health workers, psychologists, mental health nurses. My mother is a professor in dementia care and things like that, so I have this sounding board that I can speak to. So I think that's very, very important, because if you're stressed, you're not going to be able to be creative, and you're not going to be able to daydream, because the only thing you're hyper-focused is on the situation that has stressed you out.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's wonderful. What about you, Joe? You probably have your own amount of stress that you have to deal with as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think for me, like the biggest learning over the last 4 years of having a company is you just got to try and remove the emotion from as much as possible. And that's really the main thing. It makes you make bad decisions. It makes you sort of question yourself quite often. It's just trying to find a place where you can take the emotion out of it and really, think clearly. And that also enables you to, daydream a lot more as well. If you're not emotional about small HR issues, for example, you're in a much clearer headspace, to come up with new ideas and move the business forward. I think the worst thing to do is to sort of do this brainstorming and ideation when you're super stressed, because you never really get anything that's worth something, in my experience anyway.
Right. So would you advise to make sure you carve out some time to make sure that you're fully invested in that time and not take the stress out, for example?
For sure, 100%.
Right. Amazing.
Definitely.
Ammar, what about yourself? How do you cope with stress and having it not interfere with the innovation that comes with daydreaming?
I think just give yourself some time to stress, and then just
That's very interesting.
just get up and do whatever you're supposed to do. But I think having a great support group around you, if it's like a spouse, children, siblings, friends, co-workers, we're all in this boat together. And and we can't do everything by ourselves. And I can relate to Robert, because it's like this is what I had to do also when I started my own business. I had to do everything by myself, but then again, you always find people to help you, whether physically or mentally, and you get through it.
Amazing. I like that. Give yourself time to stress. So you carve out an hour and you're like, let me stress out for an hour until, and then it's behind you. I like that.
Yeah.
I'm going to start doing that. Um, Robbie, again, for the topic of letting yourself get bored and allowing yourself to get bored. We talk about this with our kids all the time, especially in today's day and age. The tolerance for boredom is so low. They cannot get bored, especially us as adults and especially children. So thinking about that, having our children get bored can also be really a tool for creativity. What are some of the ways that being bored actually leads to new and innovative ideas?
For me, well, it's not necessarily boredom, but I think physical exercise is my number one. And when I'm exercising, I'll get bored of it. And then it allows me, so I go in, Scotland is a country full of mountains, I go hiking, and you're hiking 5-6 hours. And you've got a lot of time on your own if you're by yourself. And it gives you that time to speak and await. Often on the top of a mountain, you won't have any phone signal. So you've got no service, and it's giving you that space to be able to focus. And I think it's hard for young people to kind of fully grasp that because there's that constant, I'm bored. You know, if you have any young people in your life, you'll understand that. It's iPad time. And I think that's very, very difficult to try and wean them off it, but it is also very important.
Absolutely. And Ammar, can you relate with your kids with how they are constantly getting bored and wanting to be instantly stimulated?
Yeah, they're hardly getting bored these
Oh,
days
okay.
with phones and TV, and everything is at your fingertips. So you try to create an environment where they get bored. I mean, even on long car trips, everybody has their phone. At least they have music. So you're always, and I think we're also to blame because we allow that to happen to ourselves. And children will mimic whatever we do. So I think if we try to control ourselves, give ourselves some time to be bored and do something, they will do the same. And boredom is really important. It's really important to help you to come up with ideas and help you to daydream stuff. And everything I created, through the years came from a sense either of boredom or at the same time a sense of either urgency or a sense of there's something that we need that nobody created, and somebody needs to do it, and why not you? So then you use daydreaming to figure out how to make it happen.
Absolutely, I agree. What about you, Joe? What was a moment of boredom that led you to an innovative idea?
A moment of boredom that led me to an innovative
idea, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was just when I was having sort of the initial idea of the company that I built. It was sort of out of boredom. I was sat there. I didn't really have something that was causing me stress. I think stress is a good thing. Just going back to the stress point, you should definitely have some sort of stress. I think that's healthy, and pressure to do well. And I think in some ways that really helps a lot to help you come up with something creative. But I think for me, really, this is strange because I promise I'm not one of Ammar's kids, but I'm also never bored, which is quite unusual. For me, it's more about taking time and putting time aside to really have those creative moments and come up with new ideas. And I mean, we're always at Heat. We're always creating new experiences, new ideas, working with new brand partners. And I think the best ones that we've executed so far have all come from, everyone just setting the time aside and just throwing things around and coming up with a good idea. And I think to do that, as we mentioned before, you need to remove everyone's stresses.
Ammar, could you and goes into these brainstorm sessions? Can you walk us through a kind of brainstorming session at your company? What would that look like?
I think I can give an example for another project that we're working on. We're working on creating a Saudi superhero, cartoon. And part of that process really started with me and one of my partners just thinking about it. For me, we see a lot of content that we receive, from different places, not necessarily going with, our culture or our stories. So we need to create something. Somebody needs to create something to counter that, just to give, some options. So it started from there. So it starts from a process where, okay, there's a gap that I think I can fill. And then you start coming up with an idea, then you share it with somebody. That somebody gets excited. And sometimes you go through people. It's like you share it with somebody, they're not excited. Share it with another person, they're not excited, until you find the right partner. And then from there, you build on the idea. And then from there, you find other people to help you, execute it.
Right.
So it's like, building blocks. And it has to be structured. And you have to have an end goal in mind. It's like when we sat together, it's like, okay, this is the date where we need it to happen. Then you work backwards and just hope for the best. So going forward, again, like I was saying, you need people to help you. Visualize the whole concept, but you also need people to help you execute that concept. And it's really important to do that. And for this concept specifically, I started like over 10 years ago. And it took 1 year of finding people and finding somebody who's interested to take it from a concept to a treatment to a script, and now with a sponsor to start working on animation and building the whole thing. So
That's incredible.
sometimes it takes a long time to, get through the process, but just not quitting and staying at it, even if it's a side thing. Eventually, and just, being comfortable to talk and share your ideas with enough people to find the right person. And that's really an important factor, because if you just keep all of your ideas and you're afraid people will steal them, you're not going to get anywhere. But from sharing your ideas with everybody, certain details, not everything, but when sharing your ideas with people, I think you find the right people to help you, and then from there you can build on it. So as I said, it's like it took me 10 years to find somebody to convince that this is a good idea, but it only took less than a year to actually make it into a reality, and now we're working on starting animation. So
Wow, no, that's really ties into the whole point of how a moment of peace and mindfulness can really get you from that idea to your goal, as you so eloquently said. And actually, speaking of superheroes, amazing idea. I can't wait to see that. Robbie and I had a quick conversation outside about how using daydreaming and meditation can be a superpower.
Yeah, definitely. I would say daydreaming is my superpower. And, I'm dyslexic, and, I connect dots differently to a normal brain. And that, like I say, it's my superpower. You look at people like Richard Branson and the Made by Dyslexia movement, and how strong it is, and how we have our own unique set of skills. But going back to your point about, I feel like the most important thing about daydreaming is not giving up on that dream that might not necessarily had legs at the start. For me, during COVID, we were all very bored, especially as a DJ who wasn't able to perform for 2-3 years. That allowed me to think outside the box a little bit more, because I had more time. And I also had a certain kind of fight for survival with how can I get this business off the ground, where our main source of income was doing corporate gigs. And that led me to think about the stories of the people that we're working with, and how I feel like these stories should be told. And the best way to tell that in this day and age is on the big screen. So, I've been working on a documentary idea, and the first legs of that, we had some of the biggest DJs lined up to be on it, like Carl Cox, Paul Oakenfold. But then that fell through because the clubs reopened, the DJs got busy again, and then that idea kind of back on the notice board. And then recently, like a couple of weeks ago, I was in America, because I fortunate enough to make the Forbes 30 under 30 list this year for social impact in Europe. And I met an entertainment lawyer who worked in Hollywood, and next week I've got a meeting with a Hollywood exec for one of the biggest production companies to maybe take this idea off the ground. So you just never know when an idea might circulate back, and you can take that off.
That's incredible. Best of luck. That's so exciting. I want to leave some time for questions, so I'm just going to ask one more question to Joe. And it's a bit of a loaded one, so
Okay,
I'm sorry.
let's do it.
what measures do you think educational institutions or workplaces should take to cultivate an environment that better supports daydreaming and creative thought in order to create those innovative spaces?
I think for me, like, people just need more real life experiences from a young age. So me as an individual, I didn't study any longer past school. So when I was 16, I left school, and I'm the same as Ammar. I didn't really like school. I liked the social element of school, but I didn't think it gave me the experience to do what I needed to do and wanted to do in the future. So I just wanted to get myself out there, get some experience, get a lot of no's, make a lot of mistakes. And I think really that's what the world needs more of. It's just how do we give people the right information and tools to be able to, become something themselves. And I think a lot of that comes from real world experience. And that's really the main thing for me.
Wonderful. And I'd like to also hear your perspective, Ammar, on what educational institutions or workplaces can do. Maybe a little bit of both. What do you think both can do to create that space?
They're important to empower, especially the younger generations, to be able to know how to turn their dreams into realities. And I think it's really important to have more of these, not just like one or two, but to have, multiple cities, multiple countries, and really help cater to the creative community that I think normal education is not really catering to. Now it's better than it was a long time ago, but I think you always need that outlet to help you learn. And especially that a lot of creative people, maybe I'm just talking about myself, but are not really good at the business side. So it really helps to have like institutes and educational, companies and stuff to help these creative people, first of all, to evolve their creativity, but at the same time to know how to really make it into a lifestyle.
I absolutely agree. I think reflecting on when I was in school, also not going to reveal my age, but when I was in school and when I'm seeing my niece go to school now, the way that creativity is addressed is very different. Same schools, but different. They cater to creativity a lot more, and I think that's really impressive. They have drama class, they have a graphic design class, and I would have loved to do that when I was younger, but they're just luckier. Robbie, what about you? What do you think can be done differently?
Yeah, I mean, well, in the UK, and I think most of the West is the same, schools are designed to create essentially factory workers in terms of the fact that you are put on a line and you've got to learn how to pass an exam, and then that will then send you up to further education, blah, 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 and on you go to become doctors, lawyers, and the traditional careers. But I think, and I struggled at school as well, like very much so, and I think that I think schools are now wisening up to it. There's a lot of educational movement, and I feel like there's a lot of foundations and charities out there. So my first funder was called The Big Issue Invest, and Big Issue is like a magazine that elevates people out of poverty, and they had an investment program, and they taught me based on what I wanted to do and based on what I wanted to do with my business. Whereas I feel like schools, you're not taught the school of life in schools. Come out of school and I know nothing about tax, and I'm self-employed, and it's just like, where do you go from there? So I think life skills and modern skills are very important.
I agree. Thank you. And just before I open it up to questions, I would like to ask all of you, just if there is one piece of advice you could give our audience today on how to harness the power of daydreaming and turn it into productive creativity, what would it be? Ammar, would you like to start?
There's rarely a bad idea. So if you have an idea and you feel like it's unattainable or you can't do it, trust me, I had a lot of really weird ideas, and they became realities. I mean, just for me, being an architect and working in architecture for years, and then suddenly becoming Cookie Monster on Iftah Simsim, it can't get any weirder than this. And so there's no no bad idea. You know, every idea can be a reality. Just believe in that and believe in yourself, and work towards it. I mean, it's not going to be easy. It's going to take time. It's going to take a lot of rejections, a lot of no's, but you can get there if you persevere.
Wonderful. Joe, same question. I would just like to know, how can someone hang on to that idea once it's past the daydreaming stage? What advice can you give?
For sure. I think for me, like, you should always find that time to daydream, and as we've already discussed. And really, I feel like when you feel and you buy into yourself, into an idea, and you really believe in it, then the execution part has to start happening. And I think what you need to do to enable that to happen is always make sure your environment is one that you're comfortable with, meaning whether you're on your own, whether you hire a team of staff, you need to keep that culture, that environment in a place where people feel like they can throw ideas in and not be told it's a bad idea. And, you know, with us at the moment, we have like a much bigger team now than we did at the beginning, of course. And it's interesting who the ideas come from. It's always the quiet ones who have the best idea. So I think making sure there's an open forum all the time is really the most important thing. And for me, that really starts with hiring people who believe in the vision and surrounding yourself with the best people. I think energy and people who believe in the vision is so much more important than what it says on a CV. For me, that's the core of everything.
Absolutely. And the passion that comes with it.
For sure.
Yeah.
I think you just got to start and keep going, because at the end of the day, people, for me, my dream was, once I did my experience as a volunteer, I had this idea that we were going to get an ice cream truck and turn it into a DJ truck. And there was just a small little community project that was going to be this little thing. And then, you know, I hit rejections, but then I got opportunities, and I just kept going. And it's that grit and ability to survive and sustain the struggle is the most important. And yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for this beautiful session and all your insights. I'd love to open it up for questions. Yes, please, go ahead. I think someone needs to give you a mic.
Okay, Mike.
Sorry, go ahead. I'll relay your question.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I look at Richard Branson's like my hero in terms of the dyslexic movement. But I think it's just use it as your superpower, because I think when I was at school in education, dyslexia was a hindrance, and I didn't get any support in school. I didn't get diagnosed until much later. And I think, yeah, it is your superpower, and you should absolutely connect it and allow it where you see solutions to problems. You know, allow your brain to let you take you there, and don't rely. You know, analytical people will sit and do brainstorming sessions, and for me, that I can't work like that. And I'll tell them, I'll say, look, I'm dyslexic, whatever. I can't handle that environment. I need space. So I will come to your session, but then give me 2 days, and then I'll come back to you. So.
Wonderful. Thank you. Did you have a follow-up? Are you good? Okay. Please go ahead.
My question to Thirtiwan. Can you tell me what is the moment that you discover your creative writing? Does no one know it? Can you tell us?
Okay, the question is when I discovered that I was a creative writer. It's when I started writing, seriously. I had an idea, I wanted somebody to write it, and then nobody's going to write it the way I want to write it, but I never learned how to write for entertainment. So it's just a matter of trying it out and see if people like it. And then if somebody liked it, even one person, okay, so there's something. And then you build on that, but when you discover that you're good at something, it's always after you actually do it. So, and just taking that risk of not fearing that you're going to do a bad job and people are not going to like it, because you're going to have to fail to learn. I mean, failure is just lessons, you know. So it's, at the end of the day, if you look at it correctly, and that's how you know.
Sure.
There's a mic coming.
You mentioned finding or carving out the time to daydream throughout the day or throughout the week. Do you ever feel like if or when you do that and you sit down and you're like, okay, I'm going to daydream now, your mind just kind of goes blank? And
Every
if so,
time.
how do you fix that?
Every time, literally every time. I think you've just got to find things that distract you also away from normality. So I know one of the guys said it before, but it's like, you know, either going to the gym or finding something that just takes you out of where you normally sort of are focused. Meaning if I'm just sat at home or I'm at the office and I try and daydream, impossible. Something comes up, I get a WhatsApp, there's a problem, it's like daydream over kind of thing. Whereas for me, it's about finding something that really distracts you to enable you to daydream. And that for me is, more recently, has been going to the gym or going up for a run. And that's really when, you know, you can't look at your phone because you put it in the locker, or you've got it in your pocket because you're on a run. And it's just taking away those key distractions. Mine is my mobile phone is always going crazy. So just taking that out of the picture is really what helps me to focus.
Thank you.
So my question is to all three, and be honest, just so we can benchmark. How many times have you been daydreaming during this session?
I mean, it's quite hard to be in an outdoor place with so much movement outside and not look around. So I'll give you one for me.
Yeah, no.
Not me. I was fully. fully.
Yeah, no, I think for me, I think some of the questions I actually answered the wrong answer because I forgot what the question was while someone else was speaking, because my mind was all over the place. But yeah, a lot.
Yeah,
Very often.
Yeah, I lost count.
Thank you. There's a gentleman in the back.
Hello, everyone here. My name is Ahmed Hussein Ilimban. I am a writer and an accountant. I published around 3 books by Arabic. And today I'm here because I'm very enjoying with this speaking. And I guess the power of the daydreaming, as I mentioned in one of my books, that it's like a daily process, not just need to be bored, as Robbie and Joy, he said. So my question is about what if the daydreaming be like, this is the motivation for any new idea can change the whole generation. Yeah, thank you.
Joe, do you want to take that?
I'm not sure I fully understood the question completely. If you could relay it to me.
So if it's not a one-time thing, it's a daily process.
Yeah.
So if I understand the question correctly, how can we take this daily process and turn it into a big change that affects a generation?
Yeah, no, I think for me, being daydreamers as we all are, I think it's really about trying to get yourself into some sort of routine. And that for me is the main thing. So I find more time for things when I'm in a routine, even if that means I'm doing more. Because I think, you know, daydreaming in a way that's productive has to be done when you're trying to do it. And for me, routine is the key.
Wonderful. Does anybody else would like to answer this question?
I think it's just about acknowledging daydreaming as a process as much as any other process in business and in creativity, and allowing yourself to have that time to focus on that. And as one of the keynote speakers of tomorrow, Chris Gardner from Pursuit of Happiness, I actually met with him in the hotel today, and one of his catchphrases is permission to dream. So I would implore you all to go see him tomorrow.
Wonderful. Thank you. Would anyone like to take that question?
Yeah, I think for me, it's really choosing the one that means the most to you. So it's, you can have 100 ideas, but normally there is that one that's like, this is the biggest opportunity, or this is the way I'm going to disrupt a certain industry. And for me, it's all about having a lot, but focusing on, few. And that's really the way to make them a reality, I guess.
From my side, I think I never kill an idea, but an idea sometimes, or more often, they're an integral part to build another idea. So when I work at something and you actually execute it, that's when you figure out, you know what, I don't like this, or I don't want to do this. But that process itself, it eliminated something that you had in your mind, and you felt like, oh, I wanted to do this. Now I'm sure I don't want to do this because I tried it, and it didn't work for me. It's not, any idea can work at the end, but is it working for you? Like one of the ideas, like I envisioned and daydreamed at some point that I would be a college professor. So I said, you know what, okay, I want to go get my master's, get my PhD, and come back and teach. Halfway through my master's, it's like, this is not for me. I could have finished it, but I felt like, no, I don't want to be an academic. I want to be something else, and specifically not in that architectural, field that I wanted to work in. But that made me realize that, and my biggest fear in life is regret. And I don't want to be like on my deathbed thinking, you know what, maybe if I would have just tried to be a college professor, maybe I would have changed the world. Now I have no regret. I tried it, I realized it's not for me, and moved on, but that took me somewhere else. So always, whenever you have an idea, if you want to know if it's good or bad, try it out and see how you feel. As he said, like, if you're not passionate about it, this is not you, then you can move on.
Yeah, I want to add to that as well with, I always feel like it's important to have some sort of sounding board, so someone you trust, but the person has to have your best interests in mind, because there are a lot of people that tell you your ideas are bad if they don't want you to succeed, obviously. So really finding that source of, someone who's a trustworthy sounding board, it always, helps you evaluate and take out the crazy stuff, the too crazy stuff.
I think from a social entrepreneur aspect, the mission statement will always be the same, but the ideas on how you get there will change. And it's about being, I think of myself as like a river, and I'm just following the path of least resistance to get to my mission.
Thank you.
Yep.
I think we have time for one more question. It's you. The mic is right behind you.
So hello, my question is, as a daydreamer, how can you cope with the stress and go on to progress in your goal? You daydream, you have dreams, and you want to achieve that goal. How can you do that? How to go on?
For me, I envision the end goal and how successful it is, how effective it is, how people, it changed their lives and whatnot, and that takes away some of the stress. And so I'm really distracting myself with the dream of whatever it is that I'm trying to do, and just focus on executing it. So I think for me it's important to have like a gift at the end, this prize at the end that I can look forward to. So having hope.
I think it's about resilience. If someone were to ask me what's the hardest part of my journey, it is my family and my partner's support in what I do, and understanding that you can have great ideas, but you still need to pay rent, and being able to kind of cope with that constant grilling. You need to get a proper job and all that kind of stuff. And that does stress you out, and that will affect your ability to daydream. So I think you just really need to focus on that and try and just grow thick skin and just keep yourself going.
Wonderful. I think that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much. This was such a thought-provoking, amazing discussion. Thank you all for your beautiful questions, and enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the rest of MGF.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.